Making movies is hard. Hey, hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to 7 a.m. It is 7 a.m. Today is June 11th, 2021. It is Friday. Uh, for those of you that wait for Friday, like I do, Friday's a good time. Got a big weekend planned, a lot of things going on. Good stuff. I hope everybody's having a wonderful morning, getting ready for the weekend, enjoying this much cooler weather that we're having here in New Jersey. Had a couple of scorchers before that, but this isn't a show about the weather because that would be pretty sad. So this is a show about filmmaking and that struggle. And really, sometimes I look back and I think, what was it about? Like, when did I get interested in wanting to make films, right? And before that, it was music. I was playing music. And then I realized, because it's such an odd thing, filmmaking, right? It's so weird. And I've spoken about this before, right? I mean, we're talking about basically somebody coming up with an idea, writing down words that people would say, then taking that idea and hiring people to come in and pretend to be those people that said those words you wrote, and then put cameras to film those people doing it, and then piece it together so it's cohesive and it kind of has an arc and makes sense. And then we put it up on a screen and we show it to people. And then I thought, oh, I had a show last night for the Counterparts series, and it was with Vic Mignogna. Now, Vic Mignogna is he's the creator, he's the director, he's one of the writers um, for the Star Trek Continues series, which is a very highly acclaimed and very it's a fan favorite show. Which basically, for those of you who don't know, Star Trek went for 3 years. It was supposed to go for 5 years. It only went for three. Got canceled. Fans loved it and in reruns, and they had a big letter campaign, and then it came back, and now it's still huge, right? The Star Trek universe, and so but they didn't finish the series. So Vic Mignogna decided, you know what, I'm gonna finish the series, and he played Captain Kirk, and he loved Star Trek with a passion. I mean, he has these huge Star Trek ships. He has the Enterprise like behind him. He has another one. Really big, huge one. He's telling us about. So it was a great interview. But then I got to, he talked a lot about story. Talked a lot about story, and then we go back and we talk about what Star Trek means and what it actually how interesting it was to us as kids and how it replaced certain things that was lacking from our lives as kids. For me, Captain Kirk was sort of like a father figure. I had my grandfather who was a wonderful father figure for me, but he was older, so it wasn't a lot of the things that you do with your father. I never met my dad, so he sort of became a sort of father figure, and I did look up to even Jackie Gleason from The Honeymooners. I thought it would be fun to have a dad like Jackie Gleason, right? Um, and but as you get older, you start realizing, oh, it's really not so much about the technical stuff, the cameras and the acting and the costumes and all that stuff. It's really just a story. Story is what really fascinated me, and I think that's why I got into music, was because I like writing songs. It's another reason why I'm really terrible um guitarist when it comes to covering songs. Like, I see these guys, they'll play note for note like a Van Halen. You go on YouTube or you go on Instagram and you see these 10-year-old kids playing Van Halen perfectly, or playing some incredible piece of music, that's already been done, but they'll cover it incredibly. It's very impressive. When I was growing up, just didn't do that. I wasn't thinking with, my first thought of like music was, oh, I can write songs. I didn't think of, oh, I can learn that song, because I thought to myself, well, that song is already done. I can listen to it, you know. Now I can admire it and I can try to play it, but do it note for note as a goal, it would never occur to me. I only thought about creating new stories via music. And so that translated as we went on, making music as I got older. And then the band that we were in, as I've told the story many times here, we lost one of our members tragically. Great guy, and it was difficult for us to continue. So we stopped playing, and we decided, or I decided, literally decided. I remember the moment I was sitting down in the kitchen in Sunnyside, Queens, where I decided I was going to go into acting, and I was going to find me an acting coach. And I went on Craigslist. Before it became where people get murdered. Um, I was Googling acting teachers. I didn't want to go to a class. I never really was into the whole group class and stuff, because, I don't know, just whatever. It works for some people. For me, it didn't work. Or I just didn't do it. Maybe because it was too close to like being in school, and I was just not a good student and I hated school. So it might have had to do with that. But I found an acting coach, Ruth Colorman. She was in the Upper West Side, New York City, near Lincoln Center, like a few blocks from Lincoln Center. And I was just like, oh, okay, I could, let me see. So I emailed this random person on Craigslist, and she had a very nice ad out. Um, and she responded fairly quickly. Said, I like your photo. That's all I really had. I said, I'm a musician. I don't really have anything. I'm just interested in getting started with something. I'd like some direction, maybe a couple of classes. So she said, I like your photo. You have a very interesting face. My photo was like this. And I was like, okay. I was like, cool. Well, thank you. She said, why don't you come in? Again, Craigslist. Who the hell knew, right? Show up and somebody chops you up into a million pieces and puts you in a stew. So, but I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And I showed up, and sure enough, there was Ruth Colorman. She was a petite, Irish, older woman, red hair, fiery red hair, um, retired as a professor of English, um, and then got into theater and did extremely well in theater as an older person. She was in her 50s, when she started, when she started getting into theater and acting. Now, she had studied all these through her literature and through studying, being an English teacher. Um, but we sat down, we went over. I had like a little monologue that she had sent me to go over, and I read it like this. And it's really difficult for us to be, whatever the thing was, very, very bad. And she said, okay, I remember her telling me, you have a interesting voice, and you have a good um, variance on your voice. You can vary. It's not just stuck in one. You're not monotone. Your voice kind of can carry. I guess that comes from music. It comes from whatever. Where I'm not talking like this, and it's not really just like, hey, you want to go over there tomorrow? Maybe we can go get some food, or maybe we can go to a movie afterwards. I didn't talk like that. I kind of have a little bit more vocal range. So she liked that. And then we started working together for about a year. I was taking classes from her. And then one day it was time for me to get out in the world and try to audition. And I did. That began this process of it's me, right? Before, in the past, I had a band, and I was hiding behind a guitar, right? Now it's literally just me out there in front of an audience, in front of casting people, and that was it. It was just me. I was I loved the idea of telling stories. Now I thought to myself, well, I'm just starting out. Who am I to just decide I want to start telling stories? Let me do some work first, right? So I did. I did a couple of films. I did a couple of TV things. And then I decided one day, sitting at home again in Sunnyside, I was like, I'm gonna write a script, and I want to call these people that I just met on a film shoot that I was in, and I want to do this. Okay, and the film was called I can't remember, but I did a film, and I met a lot of great people on that film set, and we stayed friends. So I went home and I wrote my first story. It was called The Coffee List, and I wrote it and I put it out. But actually, backtrack for a second. When I went to college for like a minute, right? But during that minute of in college, I took an English class, and it was a writing class actually. And I wrote something. They showed us, what how to write, and um, just what to put in and how to phrase things, whatever. And I took a lot from that. And I decided, I'm going to write a story. So I wrote a story, and the teacher, the professor at the college, said, "I'm going to read the story. I hope it's okay. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I'm just going to read it. And if they don't mind, they can raise their hand at the end of it, and let people know that it was them that wrote it, right?" So she read my story, and I'm standing there like, God, she's reading my story. And at the end of it, she said, "I thought this was really fantastic. I'm actually recommending it for the newspaper, for the school newspaper." And then it said, "Does anybody wanna raise your hand to see who wrote it?" And I was just like, so I raised my hand, and I got a nice little applause and stuff. But it was one of the first things that I wrote, and I thought to myself, "Oh, okay, I can write, I guess." Um, and So sitting down to write this script didn't take me a long time. I had the idea in my head. I thought, okay, let me just put this in. I have the idea of I know how it should end. I know how it should start, and I know a little bit about the middle. Let me reverse engineer the whole thing and then start and then write it. So I wrote it, and then I sent it to a friend of mine. I said, "Hey, would you like to do this with me? I don't know if you guys are interested, but I wrote this thing, and maybe." And they were all like, "Yes, let's do it. Let's do it." And sure enough, we went. We went to Connecticut, and we shot it in Connecticut. It was a 1 day shoot. Took about maybe 3 to 4 hours tops. It was super hot. It was like 90 degrees. Had to shoot like in the shade because it was an outdoor shoot. Afterwards, we went to go eat somewhere. I think we ate at I can't remember. It might have been a Chipotle, but that I don't know if that was. It might be still new. Maybe that wasn't around at that time. Um, but we all ate. We had a great time, and it was edited. We put it out, and it did really well. It did really, really well. It got into a lot of festivals, and I just thought that kind of was how it was done. It seemed pretty easy, actually, to be honest, because it was so much. I was so naive that I had no idea. I think, so they say ignorance is bliss, right? Well, I was completely ignorant as to how this was supposed to be. And then I just kept writing, and I kept trying to do it as I went along, just realizing how to make a film and trying to make it better and trying to get people on board. It just became harder and harder and harder. Now, I don't know if I put too much, and I might have done this. I think I might have put too much significance into things as opposed to just the doingness. If I try to go back to my mindset when I wrote that first thing called the coffee list, which by the way you can see on YouTube if anybody's interested. You can go to my website, johnhenrysoto.com, go to the YouTube page, type in the coffee list, or just go to YouTube and type in the coffee list and my name, John Henry Soto, and it'll pop up. And but it was very I had no reservations about anything because I didn't know anything. I was completely naive. I wrote it. I would say it took me maybe 20 minutes to 30 minutes to write the whole thing, the whole script. It wasn't a long script, but to write it. There was a little section in the middle where I wanted to do a little improv because I had good improv with this young lady that I was doing, Casey McDougal, for those of you who don't know. We did a bunch of projects afterwards as well together. And then um, we started I started trying to make another one. And that one became a little harder. I did it, but it became a little harder. Then we did the next one, a little tougher. Then I wanted to do a little bigger one, and it was that got really tough too. So it seems like as I went along making films, that things got tougher, and I think I started putting too much significance into things. I started becoming too much um, invested in other things other than what was the main reason. And this is why I talk about this and about Vic Mignogna, because when we talked about Star Trek, all he kept referencing was the stories. It's the stories of Star Trek that really got us interested in Star Trek. It's not the special effects, right? It wasn't the costumes. It wasn't any of those things. When you go back, those things were, I mean, for the time, 1967, 68. But it was the stories that kept people interested and build that fan base to such power that they decided to do a letter campaign to bring it back. And because of it, Star Trek, the motion picture, was released. And after that, Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock and all the Undiscovered Country, all those things came to about the journey home, the voyage home. Um, all those Final Frontier, that was number 5. All those stories just really resonated with an audience, and that's what really keeps it going, and that's what kept it going. It was also Gene Roddenberry's hope for the future, right? His future was that we all came together and had technology and traveled into other worlds, and that was the future. It wasn't the future of Mad Max, right, where the whole planet is dust and people walking around trying to kill each other and stuff. It wasn't that. Um, so I was extremely significant when it came to looking at the filmmaking part because I stopped looking at the stories. I started paying attention to, like, all right, I got to get a new camera. I have to get some lighting. I got to get sound, better sound. I got to focus on this and focus on that instead of just focusing on the story, which is what I'm now doing for the last few years. And I fell into a little bit of a trap where I couldn't find people to really uh they were in my films, but the post production after the film, the editing, the sound, the color correction, all those things became a real issue because I put a lot of significance into it. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to hire people. It gets expensive, but I'm just going to hire people to do the things that I don't know how to do until either I can do them or until it's not an issue anymore and I have the budget to do it. So anyway, so when you're making a film, if you decide out there you want to make a film, and I think everybody should make a film, I think everyone can make a film. Um, Everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. If it's taken from their own experiences or if it's just something that they are passionate about, um, they can build a story around their passion. Everyone has a story to tell, and it's a wonderful thing when you have a medium to express yourself within that story, whether it be song, whether it be film, whether it be art, painting, dancing. It's an expression of our spirituality in this physical realm that we're currently living in. And all these different expressions take a certain technical thing, but at the end of the day, they take, what am I trying to say here? That's the main thing that you want to actually ask yourself if you're putting something together. So if you're doing that, if you decide, you know what, I'm going to tell a story, and I think everyone should. What first question you have to ask yourself is, why am I doing it? What message do I want to give? What stories do I want to tell? Do I want to make people laugh? Do I want to make them cry? Do I want to make them think? All these things, or do I want to do all three of them in a story, right? And that's what I try to do. I try to do all three of them in a story. I try to make people laugh. I try to make them think about stuff. I try to make them sad, and you know, uh, just I want to get drive. I want people's emotions to be a roller coaster on the film. I want them to be surprised also. Um, and my latest film, which I just wrapped up on, and it's completed now. I'm actually just submitting it. I'm in the middle of a of a thing right now, but I will be submitting this film, which is called "And on That Day," starring Henry Packer. I wrote and directed this. I casted it as well, and I also shot a lot of it, holding the camera myself. Um, I had a wonderful assistant, Lisa Zelensky, was actually on this film shoot, and we did a couple of things afterwards, a few things actually together afterwards, which we had a tremendous amount of fun. She's an awesome, awesome person. She was on this, and we have some great actors that you can see all down there at the bottom. Dan Gregory, of course, Henry Packer, David Guzon, Jerome Vick, um, Jenna Kildosher was on, and just some wonderful people that really helped out. Great sound engineer. So I had a sound person on there, but then at the end I had to mix the sound, and I was just like, oh my god. So I found a gentleman on in Berlin, and he did it for me, and it took about 2 weeks to just kind of back and forth trying to work on certain things, but he did a wonderful job. And then the color correction, I was looking for I wanted it to look sort of drabby, filmish from 1970-ish. The film that I had in mind was a film called Prisoner of Second Avenue, which stars um, Jack Lemmon, right? A wonderful performance by Jack Lemmon. Actually, everybody. It's a Neil Simon play turned into a film, and the coloring of that film was very. It was shot in New York City. It wasn't vibrant colors like a Wizard of Oz or something from it was the 70s, and it had that grainy kind of vibe. It was also shot during the summer, and it was part of the story that it was hot and stuff. So it had this kind of darkness to it, but dreary almost, And the story that of Robert in this character that I wrote, it's about a guy who just decided after 30 years of working in an office that he's going to be himself. He just kind of hit that wall. Now it's a short film. It runs about 15 minutes. When you're writing a short film, it becomes a little challenging because it's sometimes they'll say it's even harder to write a short film than it is to write a feature, because a feature you have space, you have time, you have rooms to explore the characters and to really see the character grow and to go through different arcs and all that. With this, you have to kind of like grow it a little bit faster and stuff. So I think it came out really nice. I really love it. I'm happy with it, and the performances were great. So that's the film that I'm currently promoting. It's not out yet because I have to put it into film festivals, and festivals generally don't like a film that's on YouTube so everybody can watch it, because they don't want to compete with YouTube or anything. They want to have it like as their film for the festival. So as soon as it gets into festivals and does a little bit of a run, I will then put it out and stuff. Um, but yeah, the main thing that my main point that I wanted to talk about today, and that I think I covered, was story. If you're an artist, you're telling a story, no matter what art you do. If you're a dancer, if you're a painter, that painting, those strokes have to tell a story. You have something in your mind that you want to communicate, and how we communicate it can be a million different ways. It can be through humor, it could be through drama, it could be through dance, it can be through theater, film, music, all these things. But at the end of the day, when you sit down, somebody has to sit down and write the story. They have to sit down and pen this idea that they want to communicate, this feeling that they have. So that's what I want you to think about. If you're considering writing a film, a script, or anything that you want to do, sit down, really work on the story. Don't think of where am I going to get a camera? What am I going to do this? Where am I going to? Don't think about that. Those things are not important. Trust me, they are not important. You can have the best equipment, you can have staff, you can have people working on your film, and you still put out a film that's not doesn't tell a great story. It doesn't take people into a journey and make them reflect on anything, right? It doesn't matter those technical things. You really have to focus on what it is you want to say and communicate to an audience and how you want to make them feel, because it's something that you feel will actually enhance their life. And that's what it's about. It's about storytelling. All right, folks. Want to thank you for tuning in to my morning show here. I really appreciate you all. If you like these things, please like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel and send it to friends and let them know, hey, there's this little Puerto Rican guy. He kind of like talks about things and sometimes he makes sense. And I'm here every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. I will be having an announcement at the maybe in another week or so regarding some changes, not too much, not too drastic, but some changes, and I will be discussing those further. I can't just yet, even though I want to, but it's going to be pretty exciting stuff. So um, that's it, folks. Have a wonderful weekend out there. Enjoy yourselves. Do things that do something. Write a story. Do something that you didn't that maybe it's been in the back of your mind. You just dive into it. You know how you do that? You push yourself. Grab yourself a nice cup of coffee or a piece, or a cup of tea. Get yourself a piece of toast or something in the morning and sit your butt down and start either on the computer and start writing your stories and your thoughts and see if you can turn it into something, right? Talk about it on social media. Build it up. It will happen. It will happen. I guarantee you. All right, folks. Make today great. Do the things that you love. Take care of yourselves. And as always, peace.